What's going on, y'all? JJ here, back for another In the Hunt Retro ReWire at the Surugaya, directly into the cookies and cream, the showcase. And once again, pricing, I'm going to leave that up to y'all. In fact, I'm going to try not to even quote the prices just because I think that's a bit of a silly thing. Because we're all collectors, we're collecting different things, and we just have a different approach into the way that we do it. But got some old Famicom controllers there I believe that was for the Switch. And then the Retro Freak. I used to have one of those, and it's not a bad machine by any means. I got rid of it though, just because I just didn't really need it at the time since I had all the original hardware. But here we have a Switch Lite, and I haven't really messed with the Switch Lite. A good friend of mine recently got one, and it is a little bit appealing, especially with the Switch 2. It got announced. It's coming out in a few months, as a matter of fact. And I believe it's going to be emulation-based for all the original Switch titles. Here we have the Pokemon N64. I saw one of these yesterday. It was a blue one over at the Kazo Hard-Off, which I made a post on my Instagram. So follow me on Instagram for even more retro game hunting action. Got some Sega Mega Drives. We got the Duo R. I currently have a Duo RX, and I love that thing. Got the Mega Drive 2. I have one of those too, but not in the box. I don't know how important that box is. I guess if you're a collector, that's super important, but I don't know how important it is to me. But here we got the core graphics. Now, this is the re-release, and I believe a lot of the PC Engine catalog, at least everything from Hudson Soft, from the hardware and the games, is under Konami. Currently, here we have, what do we have? SNK controller. We got the PSP Go. That's a certified bad boy. Love that thing. And then another AES controller. And I picked up my controller for the AES, that version, the original version, over at Mandarake for 2,000 yen. There was a small issue with it, but I busted out the old soldering gun and took care of it. It was just some contacts that were bridged, nothing too major. Some PlayStation Vitas and more Switch Lites, and that other Switch Lite was about 2,000 yen less than those. But here we have some PS3s, another Mega CD 2, and that one is slowly climbing in price, which is to be expected in this day and age. And then we got the FZ10 3DO. That thing has kind of like a similar design to the PC Engine Duo, which the Duo has my favorite console design out of all the retro, maybe of all time. I just love that thing. Here we have some Virtua Sticks, and here we go with some software. We got quite a bit of NEO GEO titles. I gotta say, my AES collection has grown. It's grown by about 4 or 5 titles in the last few months, and I definitely need to make a pickup video of everything that I got out in the Kansai region. But there's a few Mega Drive titles back there, a little bit hard to see. And then we have, I'm not sure, the Darkness Hunter. Is that for the Famicom? I'm wondering. Haven't seen that one before. But it's hard to keep up with all the retro gaming madness. There's just so many titles, which is a good thing. And we have some Gunstar Heroes in the back. 19,800 yen for the Game Gear. I haven't played that port. Absolutely love the Mega Drive version, but I would like to give the Game Gear version a go sometime. And then what is this? Some role-playing game. Cotton 100%. And we got Dracula XX. That's another one that's slowly rising. I think it's been constant, more or less, in the last few years at that price point. Maybe a little bit less. I paid a little bit less for mine. And then we got Rockman and Bass or Forte. And Final Fantasy 2. Look at that. 10,000 yen. I picked mine up for 3,000. And yesterday, I picked up the original Final Fantasy release for the Famicom for 2,000 yen before sales tax. Complete in box. Really minty. And that was... I'm still kind of stoked on that one. We got Knights of the Round. Great beat 'em up by Capcom. We got, what do they have there? Two two versions of or two copies of Paperboy. We got Juju, or what's his name, Toki, something like that. I have the remake on the Switch, and then we have Alicia Dragoon, and that has a gnarly cover. I recently picked up Donna for the Sega Mega Drive. That's going to be arriving in the mail in a few days, and I'm kind of hyped on that. 120,000 for the Punisher for the Sega Genesis. That's the North American variant. And I was recently at the Surugaya in Shinjuku. They also have a copy, which is they had it priced at 102,000 yen. Now this store is a tax-free store. I think a lot of the Surugayas are tax-free. And this is like Hyper something, the name of the female character there for the Super Famicom. I haven't seen that title before. And then we have Contra Dual Spirits, or Contra 4. And that one has been pricey for a few years here in Japan. And then we got the Castlevania titles for the DS, the Dominius collection. I hope that gets a physical release, because I do want the Haunted Castle remake. I absolutely love the original, and I think that remake is gonna fit the bill just nicely. And what else do we have here? Grand Prix there on the left for the Sega Saturn, and then Metal Slug 7 for the DS. Now I think this might be my first time seeing this, as this is I don't know if it's rare, but it's just, definitely uncommon to see. And then we have Skullfang. That is also available on the Switch and the PlayStation 4, and it's bundled with Wolfang. But they're just based off the Saturn ports, so maybe you're better off getting I don't know if it's better off, just because the original titles are going to be a lot more expensive than that re-release by City Connection. And then we have Fatal Frame 2 and Fatal Frame there for the OG Xbox in the back. And then Border Down for 23,800 yen. I really want that bad boy. I love these shooters. I'm not very good at shooters, but I want to say currently shooting games take up like maybe 50% of my game time. And I meant to have this video out sooner, but I've been so busy playing video games. I got to catch up since, in March, I had like 2-3 days off for the entire month. I'm not really sure what this is, but it seems to be an interesting game. And then 25,000 here for this. I forget the name of that game, but it's a shooter. That's another one that maybe I'll add to the collection. And then PC, what's his name? Bonk. I have that title, and 30,000. That one really jumped. Metal Slug 2 for the NEO GEO CD. And there's Wolfang. I have it for the PlayStation, but I'm a hardcore Sega Saturn guy. And then here we have Batsugan. Now this is slightly sun faded, but 17,400 yen. I know I said I wasn't really going to quote prices, but sometimes it's for lack of original words, it just kind of comes out. But Batsugan, that's also available for the Nintendo Switch. And then here this is also, that also got those Laserdisc releases also got a Switch release, and it's kind of pricey, the Switch versions, but they are remastered in HD. And then we have Agent Armstrong there, and then Aldinus for the Super graphics. I have that, and it's also available on the PlayStation Network for a far, far, far lower price. Zanuck Cross Zanuck, or Zanuck X Zanuck. That's another one that I would like to at least play. And then we have some more Neo Geo AES titles with Far East of Eden there at the front. What do we have? World Heroes 2 Jet. Some wrestling game there. And then they also had a copy of King of Fighters 98, which that's another AES title that I want to add. I absolutely love this game, and it's definitely one of the better King of Fighters games. But anyhow, let's go ahead, head deeper into the store. And I forgot what time this was. This was like around lunchtime. And it's just empty here. I had the whole thing to myself. But this is a great store with regard to stock and inventory. And I didn't show everything just because they had quite a bit. But You know, all the popular stuff, all the popular platforms, whether it's new or retro, they're going to have it. I mean, just look at all this stuff. And there's not a soul in sight. And that usually seems to be the case when I'm out filming. It's just, I don't plan it, of course. It's just the way it works out. What do we have here? Rockman X3. I have a copy of that, finally. And Dragon Buster there. We got some Dreamcast titles there. Rockman World 2 and 3. Which I have both of those. I think I do. Which is kind of sad. Tom and Jerry, the movie. I wonder how that is. Tom and Jerry, they're quite popular here in Japan. Then we have Download. Fatal Fury Special. And this is all like the premium loose cards, I guess. And that was Golden Axe 3. And then, yeah, maybe I don't have Rockman World 3. Definitely have Part 2. And let's just keep making our way here. We got Addams Family. I hear that's actually a good game. And at least gameplay-wise and on a technical level. I do want to play that. Now that I see that game, maybe if it's still there next time I go, maybe I'll pick that up. And then Super Back to the Future 2. I believe that's a Japan exclusive. And then we have Wild Guns, and they also had a copy of Super Turrican. And then Zelda 2 for the old disc system. And then the original Zelda in cart format, which I actually picked that up in Osaka. I got a complete copy at an inner city book off, which I got to release that video. I still got a few more videos I got to publish from my trip out to Osaka. And I may be back later in the year and possibly sometime in the summer. It's a big project out there in the expo. And here we have the FT pad by ASCII for this Sega Dreamcast. And that's a great controller. Now this year's for the Wonder Swan, which allows you to plug in some headphones, which I do have that accessory. We got the NEO GEO Pocket. I believe that's the original. But somebody was asking me about NEO GEO Pocket prices, and as you can see, there you go. There's even one in the back in the box for 14,680 yen. That includes the 10% sales tax. And then the Wonder Swan color. Now, this Wonder Swan color is all over the map. I was getting pretty good. I got a really good deal for the Swan Crystal at the Asashi Obashi book off out in around the Namba area. Really good deal. It was like 6,000 and some change. We got a few pocket cameras and the printer for the old Game Boy. And some component cables for the Cube back there. Check that out. I don't know. Is that still something that people want, especially with all the HDMI plug and play and mods for the Cube? I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want those cables, but they're definitely out of reach. What's the price on this bad boy here? Okay, yeah, so it's about 2,000 and some change, or 20,000. Excuse me. But here we go. We got some more. Now, the aisles look a little bit empty, at least for the Sega Mega Drive, but they had some pretty quality titles here. They even have a few Super 32X titles. Here we have Super Street Fighter 2. I picked up a copy of this out in Hyogo Prefecture for half that price, but it was missing the freaking manual. Here we have Altered Beast. And then Jewel Master. This... I definitely would like to add this to the collection. It gives me like a little bit of a Castlevania type of vibes. And then we have Thunder Force 3 for 8,000. I do have that on the Nintendo Switch. It's the the arcade version by M2, which is excellent. We have Dai Makaimura with its excellent cover. Tatsujin or Expert for 7,000. What else do we have here? I'm telling you, Forgotten Worlds. I have this on the PC Engine, but you know, this version adds slightly different things, and I also have it on the Nintendo Switch as a part of the Capcom arcade releases digitally. But that's a pretty wicked cover there on the Mega Drive. Mortal Kombat 2 for 9,000. I wonder if this one is censored. A lot of these Mortal Kombat games in Japan, when you perform a fatality, it'll go into black and white. which is kind of an odd thing to do, but it's part of the censorship. We have Outrun, which is also a part of the collection housed in the Sega Mega Drive Mini 2. And then with Sonic the Hedgehog, I picked this one up out in Wakayama. 2,000 yen, no manual. Whatever. Here we go, Gunpei. I really want to try this one as well. In fact, in the last 2 years, I've been getting more and more into puzzle type of games. That's just pure gameplay and a rush. We got Art of Fighting 3, which is an excellent game, one of my favorite Neo Geo games. Great game. And let's go through the Neo Geo CD titles. I currently have the Neo Geo CD Z. I got rid of the front loader and the top loader like years ago, and I just settled on the CD Z. But this is a great platform because a lot of the games will have like arranged soundtracks, and sometimes these soundtracks are superior to the original ones. But some of the later games, some of the later releases do have compromises, just because the RAM is going to be limited on the CD-Z, and sometimes you can just expand the big old AES cards. But love the Neo Geo platform, and a decent selection of games here. We got Real Bout. That's one that I want to add to the CD collection. Real Bout on the AES seems to be around like the 24,000 range, so definitely far cheaper on the old CD. And then this is the lone pocket color title for the Neo Geo. They had a few loose cards which we'll have a look at, but here we have Space Harrier. I do like these boxes here for the Super 32X, and the 32X is a platform that I've never tried, and I hear a lot of great things about this VR racing for the 32X. I believe it also has like a widescreen anamorphic widescreen mode, but I definitely would like to try that one day. And then we have D's Diners Director's Cut. I'm not sure what this one is, but it has a cool cover. These are going to be your 3DO titles, which, I still enjoy playing my 3DO. I have a FZ1. I play this quite often, as a matter of fact, that Super Street Fighter 2X for the 3DO. Just kind of a neat little system, just because it was so out of reach back in the glorious 90s, but now it's definitely far more accessible. Here we have Garo Densetsu 2, or Fatal Fury 2. I don't have this one, but I do have Special. And that's not too bad of a price there, that, 5,600 yen. And then Garo Densetsu 3, The Road to the Final Victory. This one actually isn't too bad. Now, if you get the Neo Geo CD version, it kind of blacks out right before the fight starts, but for like a split second. And this has a really gnarly cover. I've seen this before. Seen it many times, but that cover is wicked cool. Old PC game. And they even have some Mega CD titles and Master System titles there. We got some Phantasy Star, which that version did get ported over. It got ported over as a part of the Sega Ages collection for the Nintendo Switch, and they added a few quality of life features. So definitely I recommend that one, as it also includes the FM soundtrack. But here we have Starblade Alpha. And then what is this? Soul Feast. And what do we have? Final Fight CD. A lot of good stuff here. Although, I have a Mega CD and I do enjoy playing it, but the library, at least from the games that I like, is very, very limited, which isn't too bad of a thing. Just less things to add on the shelf, I guess. We have some Cyberbots action for 5,900 yen. That's probably like the lowest that I've seen it in quite some time. But I want to say that their Sega Saturn selection, while not large, it was pretty solid. They had quite a bit. They had a lot of stuff in here, as a matter of fact. A lot of great shooters, a lot of great fighting games, a lot of great racing games, which, those three genres are some of my all-time favorites. The King of Fighters bundle 96 and 95. I think there's another bundle which throws 97 into the mix. And then this is Lunacy, Toriko as it's known here. I think the North American version is crazy expensive nowadays. And this is Grand Dread. This seems to be some kind of like strategy-based game. But they also had a copy of Sonic Council, which is a 2D fighter. Kind of a less common, not many people know about it. I'm thinking anyway, but if you like 2D fighters, you like the Sega Saturn, look up Sonic Council. We got some Cyberbots. Quite a few copies of Cyberbots. What else do we have here? Saturn Bomberman. Some King of Fighters 97. I got rid of all of my SNK releases on the Sega Saturn just because I prefer to, you know, I'll play that on the NEO GEO CD or on the AES proper. And what is this? Super Puzzle Fighter 2, which that's also available on the Sega Dreamcast. And that version is quite expensive because it is, I believe it was online only at the time where you could make the purchase. And Shadows of the Tusk. I've seen this one before, haven't played it, so I have no idea if this is any good or whatnot. Sometimes these games, you know, difficult to play, but sometimes they do have some pretty cool soundtracks. And I believe that's the Samurai Showdown 3, or it could be the bundle, which includes 3 and 4. Which, you know, they're pretty solid ports on the Dreamcast, based off of the NEO GEO CD versions. But here's another copy of Super Street Fighter 2 Puzzle 2X, something like that. Freaking long names. What else do we have here? Let's see. Got some Toshinden URA Ultimate Revenge Attack. That's a guilty pleasure of mine, as well as S. On the old Sega Saturn, we have some Police Knots. That's not one you see every now and then we have some Pocket Fighter action. Again, this is another solid little fighting game. And it's also available on the Switch. Man, the Switch is such a nice little machine, as well as the PlayStation 4. My preference is the Switch, but you know, those two platforms along with the Xbox and Steam, you know, just so many retro games. We got Mass Destruction. This is also available on the 3DO. I'm not sure if it's on the PlayStation 1 though. We got Mech Warrior. I wonder if that's any good. I would like to try that one out. And Mr. Bones. I picked this up for $10 and it was missing disc 2. Of course I got it in the junk section and I knew it was missing disc 2, but I'm hoping one day I can just find it loose. And 9,400 yen for Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. That's also a part of the Marvel versus Capcom collection, which is a worthy collection. We got some layer section or Galactic Attack or Ray Force. What else do we have here? This is some Sega Ages, some early Sega titles there. Next to Roommate. This is like some kind of sim. I wonder if that's any good. Not something that I would play, but, you know, I appreciate that there's stuff like that out there. We got some Real Bout Special. Great game. And let's make our way into the Sega Dreamcast Macross M3. Now, this is a title that I've been wanting to play for years, but just never got around to it, and my interest just kind of waned a little bit, but I need to look it up again just to see if it's something that I would like to play. And sometimes, you know, guys, I'm picking up games, but, you know, I try. If I don't like it, I get rid of it. That's how my collection is. It's always it's in a ever state of change. It's always evolving, changing. I just kind of, you know, I recently sold off a few things to buy more things. You know, that's just how it goes. I Believe Again. Dance Dance something. Is this a Dance Dance Revolution? Well, it's a Konami title. Is Dance Dance Revolution Konami? No clue. And we got some demo disc, Daytona USA. This pairs lovely with the racing wheel. It just controls like a dream. Highly recommended. And then Street Fighter 3, Double Impact as it's known in the West. I have the North American version, and I now have this version because I went out to the book off in Honjo as well, and they had a copy for about 2,000 yen with a 10% discount, so I couldn't pass it up as a collector. And then Evolution 2, I used to have this, and I beat it way back in the day. One of the few role-playing games that I, you know, completed. I was never too big on RPGs, but I do have a few under my belt. with the Shin Megami Tensei series being amongst my favorites. Which Devil Summoner, Raito and the Soulless Army, that's coming out. Definitely going to pick that up. Still have the old PS2 version. What do we have here? Some Power Stone. That's going to be coming out in the Marvel Fighting Game Collection Volume 2, as well as Power Stone 2. Although I do... And they also got released on the PlayStation Portable, which I bought a digital copy a few years ago. Frame Grid by From Software. Now, this was an early launch title, and haven't played it, but judging by those screenshots, it gives me Virtual On vibes. And this is also going to be a part of that same Capcom Fighting Collection, Rival Schools 2. And then some more Macross M3 action. Not sure what this is, but we'll put it where it belongs with the other Sega Saturn titles. But yeah, not a bad selection of Sega games there. And then, of course, Xbox. I'm still collecting for this thing. Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. I have the North American release to that, but I do like the Japanese cover. Ninja Gaiden Black. I brought my North American version, which I play on my Xbox One X. Looks beautiful. And what do we have? Some Fable and Jockey's Road. Kind of an interesting cover, that one. And then Fable, 1,000 yen and some change for that. I wonder how that version is on the OG Xbox. And then we have Maximum Impact KOF. I have this on the PlayStation 2. I have the sequel. It's an alright fighting game. Not the best, but you know. Otogi. I used to have this. I had part 1 and part 2. Never completed them, but I do like the, you know, From Software. Big fan of From Software, especially after their masterpiece works in the Souls series. Dead to Rights. And this is Dodonpachi. Phantasy Star Online. What else do we have here? Bloody Roar. Look at this. 7,300 yen. I believe this also got a release on the GameCube as well as the PlayStation 2. But the Cube version, and especially the Xbox versions, are going to be some of the pricier ones just because they're, you know, they're less common. But saying that, I don't think I've ever seen the PlayStation 2 version. Sega GT Online. It's been years since I played Sega GT. And then we have Mech Assault. But not a bad selection there of Xbox titles. Then we got some 360 action. Alan Wake. This is a great game. And then Lollipop Chainsaw, which, you know, that got a release on modern platforms. Ninja Gaiden 2. Definitely want Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I believe the physical release is going to be making its way courtesy of Play Asia. So get your pre-order in. Dante's Inferno. This is another one that I do want to play, but the Japanese versions do not include any English language options. And I feel that Dante's Inferno started off as a PSP title. It's also available on the PSP. But yeah, I'll have to play through that action game one day. And then Dead Space 3. I haven't played that one yet. Alien Isolation. Now, the Japanese version, no English language options, which is kind of weird. Sunset Overdrive Day 1 Edition. Now, that does have full English language options. I have a copy of that. As does Titanfall 2. I have that, and I hear great things about it, but my copy is still sealed. I'm going to open it when I get around to it. And it could be years, believe me. R-Type Complete. Some people don't like the soundtrack to that version, but, you know, it's not my favorite, but it doesn't really bug me. What else do we have here? We got some more R-Type. Now, the R-Type games, if you look around for them, you can find them for less money, but it might take a few stores for you to hit the jackpot. Not sure what this is, but Masna, they're a pretty legendary publisher. Champion Edition there. But yeah, the PC Engine, that's another. I picked up quite a few games out in the Kansai region, so that collection has grown quite a bit as well. Not just the games, but also in the hardware. So I definitely got to unload a few bits. I recently sold the PC Engine shuttle, and I had to think about it, but I realized that that's not something that That's not my preference in hardware, at least for the PC Engine. It's a cool, neat, unique looking piece of hardware, but I had to let it go. Let it be somebody else's problem now. But we got, well, not that it had any problems, but you know, at least with storage, now that was a problem. Space Harrier. What else do we have? Some of these covers look so cool. Sinbad, look at this. Some kind of role-playing game. And I always confuse that one with Alien Crush, but it's some kind of role-playing game. And then we have Tiger Road here. I believe that's a Capcom title, at least in the arcade. Championship or Champion Wrestler. What else do we have here? Yeah, Dragon, not Dragon Saber, but the first one. But yeah, just PC Engine. Do enjoy the PC Engine. Oh, I want to get Aero Blaster on the PC Engine. Well, I either want it on the PC Engine or the Mega Drive. But that's a pretty cool game. I'm surprised the arcade version hasn't been re-released by Hamster. But anyhow, let's. I skipped the Nintendo stuff, but they do have quite a bit of Super Famicom, Nintendo 64, Famicom, Game Boy. They have all the Nintendo stuff, GameCube, and in fact, it's just a whole aisle of it. But I decided to exclude it so we could focus on some PlayStation stuff. Otherwise, the video would be like an hour long. I'm not sure what that is, but Bandai. Could be some Gundam thing or, you know. So I got some PlayStation 3 titles. Heavy Rain. I have a copy of that, but I haven't played through it yet. Definitely want to give it a go. And out in the Kansai region, I did pick up finally MotorStorm Pacific Rift. But Heavy Rain, 780 yen. That's not too bad. Although I think if you really, really look, you could probably find it for less than half. And then the Puppeteer. That used to be, that one's slowly climbing in price. Not that it's super expensive now, but, you know, before it was common to see it for about 300 yen. King of Fighters 12, kind of a half-baked game. Zone of the Enders HD edition. I have that. And then Vampire Resurrection. Now, the PS3 version of Vampire Resurrection, it includes Darkstalkers and Vampire Savior, but the filters, the visual, you know, the display filters are kind of, at least they're not really to my liking. And the Capcom fighting game collection includes all the vampire games, and it's just really solid, at least visually. And then that has the memory card for X2, Final Fantasy X. What else do we have here? Some kind of jockey game. Dabitsuki, something like that. And Tenchu 3. Tenchu, that's also from Software. And what do we have here? Something by Falcom. Superheroes 2. The Rockman Classics Collection 2. The good old PlayStation 4. I currently don't have any PlayStation 4 hardware. At one time, I had like 2 Pros and 2 standard versions, but I sold it all. And I just use my PlayStation 5 at the moment. I have a weird relationship with the PS4. It's not really like my favorite PlayStation, although it was highly successful, but something about it that just doesn't really jive with me. We got Fighters Impact, but I do love the PS1. And I have a copy of this. I am after a lot of these early PlayStation 1 fighting games. They're just so quirky. And then we got a Saturn title here. A heavy hitter, too. X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Some Konami adventure game. And this has a pretty cool cover. And I believe this, Battle of Darkness or whatever it's called, is also on the Sega Saturn. We have Galarians. This also saw a North American release. In fact, I still remember the day when my buddy picked up a copy at Kmart. I picked up Marvel vs. Capcom 2. We got Einhander and Symphony of the Night there. Dracula X. Kingsfield. Now, I believe, is this part? Yeah, that's part 2. Kind of hard to tell there. And then we have some Sonic Wings for 9,800 yen. Now, this is getting an update to the series, which I believe is going to see like a June release. But the visuals, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not really feeling the visuals of the new Sonic Wings game. What do we have here? Some Street Fighter EX and some more Rival Schools action. That's a great game, Rival Schools. I'm so glad it's coming out in the collection. Now, this is Anarchy in Nippon Part 2, and I did pick this up. Has the Obi card. I have the original on the Sega Saturn, and I've been waiting to find a copy, the sequel, which is right here. And I still haven't played it. Shame on me. But I'll definitely get around to it because I do enjoy my fighting games. I wonder what that Kendo one was about. But look at this, Marvel vs. Capcom. And I know I show, look at all these fighting games. Let's just make it all about fighting games here. But pretty cool cover there for the PlayStation 1. And this seems to be some kind of puzzle game. I'm telling you, my puzzle collection has grown significantly. And I am enjoying them more and more. You know, a few years ago, I wouldn't even touch a puzzle game. But now, let's go. And then Raiden D. Oh, yes. I picked that up in Kansai. I was playing through it, and I beat it. You know I credit fed that thing. And, man, what a great game. That's probably one of my favorite shooters. But Final Fantasy Anthology, the North American release. Now, these used to be really, really inexpensive. Now, here it's going to be at a higher price point just because, you know, it's not so easily... it's not an easy thing to get in old Japan. But that's going to be it for today's episode. Stay tuned. More is on the way. Ciao.